Dios. Estas criaturas de la noche. Soy un puto vampiro. Vale. Perfecto. Por aquí, vale. ¿Por dónde voy? Por ahí. Me ha salido para coger algo. A ver, ratitas.
This is despicable.
Por ahí. Voy. ¿Cómo llego? A ver. Joder, toda la vuelta que me voy a tener que dar. Por ahí. Ah, ya que estoy a esto me los voy a ventilar. ¡Hijo de puta! A ver, veamos. Vamos, que el hijo de puta este no me ha visto. Hijo de putísima madre. Pues ataque especial. Madre mía, qué hostia les he metido a estos. Pero en serio no me has visto hacerle esta mierda. ¿Está bien, señora?
Are you all right, miss?
I don't know. Who were those people? They wanted to kill me. Why?
They've lost their minds in the epidemic. They won't come back for now.
You seem to know a lot about them, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm investigating this disease.
I am Shaoshun. Thank you so much for helping me, Mr. Reed. I must go to the cemetery now. Goodbye.
Adiós.
It's locked.
Cerrado.
Carnage. Is Father
Chelinos.
Whitaker's disciple among the bodies, I wonder? This man's far too old to be Samuel. No. By the look of his clothes, this man's a docker.
Vale.
It's locked.
Está cerrado. Ya. Creo que me van a reventar. Ta. Buah, qué hostia me ha metido. A la mierda. Qué cabrón. Hijo de puta. A ver. Joder. Puede valer.
believe I'm doing this.
Vale. Vamos a ver si alguna vez... Vale. Vale, ahora toca volver al puto hospital. Vale. ¿Qué es ese ruido? A ver. Vale. Vale. A ver, ahí. ¿Esto qué es? Mira, mi araña. Y eso me va a servir para... Este que tenía... Vale.
This is despicable. Vamos bien. A ver.
Venga, muérete. Solo había esta mierda aquí. Chelines. Pues no entiendo. A ver. Vamos a ver.
I have this thirst for blood. It's locked.
Que lo leas a su puta madre. Eso que... A ver, tú, pedante.
Good evening, Miss Hub. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Vale.
I'll leave you.
No puedo saber más de la piba esta todavía. Vale. Entra aquí, ok.
Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No,
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Tell me
Hábleme.
about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Joder, que... no me habla una mierda.
Painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick.
So painful, I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful, I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper?
Hecho polvo.
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
¿Me pregunto otra
How
vez?
painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
Joder.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
I have to go
Tengo que
now,
averiguar cosas sobre el pibe
sir.
este.
Don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Que me las vas a decir tú.
Time with me.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
¿Le cobró?
She charged you for a bed.
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
Qué cabrona.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Qué cabrones.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
Pues... No averiguo
Goodbye,
nada.
Mrs. Goswick.
Good evening, sir. Doctor,
¿Cómo puedo averiguar más de este
Good
tío?
evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Sobre
Why did
sospecha.
your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Son buenas
Pembroke
manos.
Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Time with me.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
A ver.
Good evening, sir.
Vamos a preguntar por aquí a ver qué me dicen.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on the building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. You seem worried about the safety of your family. And it's obviously the reason why your wound troubles you so much.
I cannot give up on my children now. They both need me living.
What about their mother, if I may ask?
She died in 1915 during one of the first Zeppelin
Joder.
raids. We never found her body.
F in the chat.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
¿Cómo
How
están
are your
sus hijos?
children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that my kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Me falta una pista de este tío.
Is there anything else that's bothering you? Can I help you?
I'm all right. Considering the state of this place, I should consider myself lucky, I guess.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
A ver, este men.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Su puta vida en Londres. Háblame de
Please, could
ti.
you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired
Joder, cómo me tiran flores.
I'm honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based
Tus
my technique
experimentos.
on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories at first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
Háblame sobre el hospital.
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. You're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time. Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
You don't have to worry about me, Dr. Reed. I am here to assist you, not to be a burden.
Preguntas personales.
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Cuéntame la historia.
Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father. Ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Oh.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Atrás. Atrás.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ella. As for me...
A ver. Desconocido, ese es otro, ¿no?
Good
Okay.
evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could
Mujer murió por su culpa?
responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Qué putada.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Hombre, visto así lleva razón.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
A ver, veamos.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Vale. A ver. ¿Quién es este? A ver. Este men.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swans's enthusiasm for
Le
hiring
caigo
you.
mal
What we
al
need
pibe
here
este.
are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Su puta vida en Londres. ¿Tiene algún problema conmigo? Te revienta el pecho.
Feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Ah, que tiene celos.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Buh.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure. But my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Preguntas personales.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd.
Este me cae mal, el hijo de puta. Vale, pero no he sacado nada sobre este tío y me jode. Me jode. A ver.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland. And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Vale.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
A ver, espera.
Good
Mierda.
evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
A ver. Voy a hablar con esa enfermera. Que está aquí. Tú.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
Su puta vida en Londres.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever.
The Spanish group.
Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
Repóngase,
You
coño.
must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Do you need medical help yourself, nurse?
I'm fine, really. I just need to sleep.
Vale. ¿Hace cuánto que es
How long
enfermera?
have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
Le
You'd be
sorprenderé.
surprised what dedication can achieve, Nurse Hawkins. In medicine, sometimes we're just a test result away from a miracle.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How
Go.
is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
El conductor de la
Why does
ambulancia.
Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Atrás.
Pepper, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes. Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins. But are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risks?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke. But we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
No pasa nada, oye. Notas personales.
Pepper, are you sure you want to leave this hospital?
To become a nurse was a little girl's dream. But in the end, I don't feel that useful. I want more. I want to make things change.
But you're doing something important here. For all the patients who need your help.
We save lives, sure. Each time we send a cured patient home, it's a relief beyond words. But since the epidemic,
Que quiere ser doctora,
I feel
vaya.
so powerless.
What steps are you prepared to take to feel more useful?
I don't know yet. My sister believes that the real fight is in the streets nowadays. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is what I must do.
And what about Milton Hooks? Does he share your point of view?
For Milton, any change means more comfort and more peace. I disagree.
If you feel that saving lives is not useful enough, perhaps it means that you've lost faith.
On the contrary, my faith has never been stronger. Maybe
Joder, con la
we're all
enfermera
just too
esta.
proud to face up to the fact that science cannot compete with God.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is
Así
this
es.
your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for
Qué
all.
cabrona.
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
Yeah,
You
no.
put a price on hope. This goes against everything you swore to uphold as a nurse.
Report me then, Dr. Reed. Report the little nurse and keep on lying about the surgical errors, the wrong dosages and diagnostics that we all covered for the sake of our colleagues.
Bien fue
Whose
la idea.
idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
Joder. Con la puta enfermera.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff
Hija
and
de
patients.
puta.
We are running out of everything.
Atrás, atrás. Adiós.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
A ver.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Déjame los juegos.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Ay, qué mierda, que ahora está cerrada.
It's locked, all right.
Vale, vale. A ver, ¿y ese pibe? ¿Dónde está?
It's locked, all right. Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
Como consiguió el puto trabajo.
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by
El
the docks.
enterrador.
A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to take, not death itself.
Vaya tela. Trabaja
Do you
aquí.
work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Joder, nos
Have we
conocemos.
met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were
Ay, su
missing,
hermana.
and she was
Me
looking
la cepillé.
She must be very relieved now.
Tell
Pues
me
está
the truth
muertísima.
about your appointment as a medic during the war, Rakesh.
The regiment administration appointed me by mistake. I had to learn the job on the spot, sir. Very hard, sir, but I rose to the challenge.
Do you realize how many soldiers died because of that decision? You should have refused.
Yes, sir, I swear I did, sir. But no one listened. When the first wounded arrived, I had to do what I could.
It is an unbelievable story, Mr. Chidana.
It was a time beyond belief, Dr. Reed. But I'm happy not to deal with the wounded. I prefer caring for the dead.
No puede
You
ser.
can't impersonate a doctor. You can't improvise a medical education. People could die at your hands.
You're absolutely right, sir. But as a field surgeon, it was more like being a butcher.
Do you believe you have really helped these people?
My ratings were within the averages of the regiment. I saved lives, Dr. Reed. Does that not say enough about triage and war surgery?
Preguntas personales.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Vale.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No, I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
You will believe goodwill cannot last.
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is, we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
Bueno.
So you're ready to die?
No, I'm not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidan.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Vamos a ver qué vende el pibe este.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful.
Ah. Este no lo conozco.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion
Vampiro. Especialista en transfusiones sanguíneas.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London.
Joder, aquí estos son unos cabrones, por lo que veo.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of the hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
Can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more, unto the breach.
You've nothing to prove, Dr. Tippett, to anybody. And we all praise your experience. Please, have some rest.
I am perfectly fine, and I am not too old for this job.
Joder, no sé, todavía se enfada. Vale.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
A ver el men este.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Tell Tell me why you're extorting money from some of the patients here.
If a patient wants a bed, he'll have to pay me a little fee.
Qué hijo de
Where did you
puta.
get the idea for such an immoral scam?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed me to get a bed. It's only then I realized I could make a fortune.
Qué mala
What's
gente.
going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Hay que ser un desgraciado.
Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
Do you know that Nurse Hawkins is thinking of leaving the hospital?
That's not a surprise. We've talked about it already.
Does it not bother you?
Sometimes I think she may be right. We should run away while we can. Question is, where can we go? Where is it safe?
Admit it. Nurse Hawkins is more than your lover. She's also your partner in crime.
Of course she is. How else could I tell which bed is free? I need to know that.
Have you no shame?
Don't you see this city is crumbling down?
Spider, un hijo de puta, el conductor de la ambulancia y la otra.
Tomorrow we may be fighting for food.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me, look on the
Vaya
bright
tela.
side of life.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Yes, Jonathan?
May I ask you some questions?
Please do. I have promised to answer you.
Va, si esto ya lo sé todo.
For now.
El desconocido, ¿quién es? El que está en la puta. Supongo que es el que está muerto. O yo qué sé. Tú, enfermera cabrona.
Good evening, Nurse Brennan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Su puta vida en Londres no me interesa. Preguntas personales.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting
Estamos hablando de él, yo estoy al lado.
gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Ya no tengo más preguntas sobre esta tía. Joder.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance. Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Preguntas personales. Vida en Londres.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Joder. A ver. A ver, no era que va por ahí. El pibe este.
Hey, Doc.
Preguntas personales.
I'll leave you for now, Mr. Cox.
Pero ahí va alguien. Mira, mira, se lo puedo curar, creo.
Hello again, Mr. Thatcher. Do you feel any better?
Yes, this neighborhood may stink of dog shit and reek of piss, but to me it smells like the purest mountain air.
Do you need medical attention?
Don't get me wrong, sir. I'm grateful for what you've done, but I've never felt comfortable with doctors.
I'm certain you have your reasons. But let me assure you, I'm not like other doctors you may have consulted.
It is true. You risked your life to save me, after all. It would be impolite to refuse your counsel.
Nada, hombre, notas personales.
Do you want to talk about why you have this fear of being enclosed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours is usually rooted in a specific event. Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
Well, Doctor, take a guess then, if you're so interested in my case.
Hostias. Es la culpa del soldado, fue su infancia o lo sepultaron. Fue su infancia.
Perhaps you were trapped or locked in somewhere as a child. The horror of war could have brought this memory back to the surface.
Are you joking? I grew up on a farm, had a bloody fantastic childhood.
Qué cagada.
Mr. Thatcher, do you have a job?
No.
Oh, pista perdida.
I spent most of my time and energy just trying to forget.
I understand what you mean. I was a soldier too.
No. Nobody can truly understand what I've gone through.
Why were you locked in that sewer? What happened?
I went by the canal after an argument with a friend. Got chased by these fucking wankers and had to barricade myself in, despite my claustrophobia.
Why did you run? What was the reason for your argument?
Newton wanted me to go to a hospital. I can't stand being closed in. Makes me feel like I'm suffocating.
Tell me about your claustrophobia. Has anyone given you an official diagnosis?
That's what the bloody doctor said. But I don't want to go to a hospital to get checked again. I'll deal with it my own way.
Oswald, why did you not go to the Pembroke Hospital to seek medical help?
I don't trust doctors. All they care about was their careers and processes. I won't be locked in any room again, by anyone.
Your fear of being trapped is not going to go away by itself. You need professional help.
I've seen enough butchers in white coats to last a lifetime. Hospitals reek of chemicals and death. What I need is fresh air.
Pues vale.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher. Try to take care of yourself.
El pibe este, ¿quién es?
Good evening, sir. I am Dr. Jonathan Reed of the Pembroke Hospital. May I be of assistance?
Dr. Reed. So it's you who saved my friend Oswald. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
And you are?
Newton Blight. Oswald and I recently returned from the war.
Why do you stay here now that Mr. Thatcher's back?
It's complicated. Since the war, Oswald's been really nervous with the idea of entering any hospital. And me, I've got my own issues.
Can you speak about that?
Rats, sir. Even seeing one, they turn me. Just want to run. It's that fear that stopped me from going after Oswald when he left.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital. As a former officer, I'll be honored to welcome a fellow veteran.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the hospital. I just need to convince him that he needs some help.
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision by himself.
Could you speak to him? He doesn't usually listen to doctors, but perhaps because you've been through it, you can talk him round.
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If you want to speak about it, of course.
War was... well, you know, sir. The stench of death everywhere. Your mate's lying bleeding in the mud. Just praying to make it through and get home. Bloody nightmare.
Did you know Oswald Thatcher before the war?
No. We met in the battlefield.
Joder, amigos de la guerra.
I think we're in the same boat to France. We've stuck together ever since.
I fought in France too. I served as a field surgeon. But it was not uncommon to repel an assault, especially at night.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded, I had to protect the infirmary from hostiles. Twice.
Tres preguntas personales.
What caused your phobia of rats, Newton?
It happened last year following an artillery attack. I was trapped for 2 days in a hole under 2 dead soldiers. And there were rats.
Go on.
They started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears, my fingers, lips. Couldn't move. Couldn't call for help.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no idea what it is to wake up buried under bodies. Fucking vermin eating your flesh. Oswald. He found me and saved me.
Oh, this.
Do you need medical attention, sir?
No thanks, sir. Unless you're able to get rid of every rat in London.
Lo intentaré.
Goodbye, Mr. Blight. Take care of yourself.
Tú, hijo puta, que averigua cosas sobre ti.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Ah, pues no.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher. Try to take care of yourself.
Ya conozco a casi todos los de aquí. Creo que lo podría matar ya si quisiera. A ese también, a ese no. A la piba. Pero ¿dónde está el tío ese? Es que tenía que haber hablado con él antes, supongo. A ver. A ver.
Good evening, Mr. Albert.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Albert.
Ya lo sé todo. Está.
Good evening, Miss Albert. How are you tonight?
Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Time has lost its effect on me, but the suffering continues.
Good evening, Mr. Hanson. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, Sora, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hallcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tension between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
¿Quién dirige la puta banda?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Atrás, preguntas personales. ¿A qué se
What do you do
dedica?
for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks, and I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Ah, que eres un puto cura.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke. Receiving visits can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
Atrás.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
¿Qué es? De esta no puedo saber más, ¿no? Ay, no me deja hablar con ella, chaval. Por arriba. 3000, que esa me la podría ventilar. 3200. No. 1000 de experiencia. Es que es con se está martísima. Vale. Estos los he curado, recuperado. Con uno de estos la he cagado. Bueno, si pido las otras pistas, nivel de cautivar 2. Aquí. Agotamiento. Resfriado. Voy a curar a esos. Tururu. poquitito árabe, normal. Adiós, que se ha petado. El normalmente hay un nombre lobo, que ahora sí está. Pum, 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 pum. ¿Así? Ay, campeón. Sana. Esta está sana. Sana. Y este que está jodido.
Good evening, Benjamin. Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reed.
Y que no dice.
Have you any news of Nurse Crane and her dispensary?
Not recently.
Háblame de la guerra.
It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar. A coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
Joder.
It's a pity that doctors still practice such barbaric methods. It's a dishonor to our profession.
Now only the pills stop me thinking about this shit. To not hear the explosions. I'm even scared of the dark these days.
Haces bien en temer a la oscuridad. ¿Por qué dispara el
Whatever the
chico?
boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
Joder, cómo está el tío.
You don't seem well, Benjamin. Do you need any help?
I always feel ill, sir. It's like I'm never right.
Toma
I can try to
remedio.
help your body heal, sir. But you must stop destroying it.
The war destroyed me, Doctor.
Adiós.
Alcohol and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
A ver, ahora... A ver qué pienso. Sano, sano... Sano. No sé, estos tíos que están jodidos.
You again? What do you want this time?
Can I offer you my medical expertise, Mr. Peterson?
Keep your medicines for others.
Toma,
There's a
cállate,
thin line
anda.
between pride and stupidity, sir. Please take this medication. You'll feel better.
All right. I'll take it then. It's not like I don't appreciate the gesture.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Tú también estás jodido.
Buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? Do you need help, sir?
To be honest, I'd prefer you take a look at my stuff. I'd rather be rich and sick than the contrary.
Todo
I don't
mal,
quite agree, but I won't argue with you. Please, take this. You'll feel better.
Really? Free? Don't take it personally, but charity usually comes at a price. Human nature being what it is.
A ver, ¿qué tienes?
Show me what you have.
De esto... Ay, no tengo pasta. Recuperado. Y creo que el hijo de este también estaba jodido.
Good evening, Harry. May I come in?
Sure. Sure. Is there only pain and suffering?
Ah, no, está sano.
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
Goodbye, young man. Take care of yourself.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
El cura que está también jodido. A nadie le hace ni puta caso.
It's Father Whitaker, my son. So, are you still lost in your rational delusions?
Cállate.
Don't you fear getting sick yourself?
Faith gives me all I need, my son. If I must fall, then so be it.
No doubt your faith will prevail, but let me give you some extra protection against the devil's work. Medicine.
Blessed be your generosity, my son.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
A ver. Creo que los he curado a todos. Recuperado, recuperado, recuperado. ¿Dónde está este? Cadogan Bates. Y... Cadogan Bates.
Good evening, Christina.
Change your mind, Mr. Reed?
What do you know about Nurse Crane and her dispensary?
2 girls I know went to the dispensary yesterday. Nobody has seen them since. I worry about them, in case bad things happen.
Goodbye, miss. Take care of yourself as best you can.
Tú, periodista de mierda.
Good evening, Doctor. Can I help you?
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Señorita.
Hello again, Mrs. Tell me, Camellia, how are things now the dispensary is closed?
No me dice una mierda.
Very well. Goodbye, then.
Me falta un tío, a saber dónde está. A ver. Esto no puedo aventurar a ser casi. Aquí estás.
Good evening, sir. Do you remember me?
If you're here for a reward, you'll be sorely disappointed. But I'll gladly shake the hand of a fellow countryman.
I'm not here for a bounty. I'm a doctor. Dr. Reed from the Pen.
Doctor? In Whitechapel? What an opportunity. My name's Bates. Cadogan Bates.
Do you require assistance, Mr. Bates?
Not me, but your skills could help a lot of people round here. That would help my business, because I say, a live tenant's a paying tenant.
Qué cabrón.
Have you heard anything about Nurse Crane and her dispensers?
Not really.
Why am I not convinced?
Maybe it's because you lack faith. Being a skeptic must be useful for a man of science.
Have you heard anything about Nurse Crane and her dispensers?
Not really.
You seem to have recovered well since your attack. Do you ever think about what happened to you?
Not much. It was a fucking nightmare. Savages, absolute bloody savages. Their appearance. Jesus. It made me want to puke.
You'd better not come back here. I won't be around next time to save you. Since I took an oath to help people, can I be of assistance?
Well, seen better days, that's for sure. But it was bound to happen with all these refugees about.
Infecting you is probably the last thing on these people's minds. Take this, in any case.
What? Give me this for free? Don't have a clue about this place, do you?
Have you heard anything about Nurse Crane and her dispensers?
Not really.
Goodbye, Mr. Bates.
A ver, vale. En teoría tendrían que estar todos. Vale, tengo que ir al cementerio otra vez. Vale. Oye, el pibe este que tiene agotamiento. Esto es... Muelles, que los muelles donde están. Tendría que volver al hospital. Pero primero... ¿Esto qué es? Vale. Va. Vamos ahí. Esto ya es. cabrón. Hijo de puta.
This is despicable. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Ah, pero que no te has ido de aquí todavía.
Shouldn't you go back home, where you'll be safe?
Maybe later. But for now, I need to talk to my husband at the cemetery, Mr. Reed.
¿Y quién es su puto marido?
Samuel isn't here. I had better follow the blood trail.
¿Y a dónde te voy? Uf. Del todo.
As I feared. Samuel no longer preaches his word.
Vale. Detalles. Vale. Rastrear. ¿Dónde está la farmacia? De los muelles. Vale, entonces esa todavía no. Los muelles. Rastrear. señor. A ver.
Leech spotted! Watch out, boy!
Vaya mierda. Ah, en esta puta casa no me dejo nada, ¿no? Vale. Por eso. Madre, anda. ¿Alguno más? Ah, mira, sí que hay otro. Hay campeones. Entonces ya toca volver al puto hospital, ¿no? A ver, pues ya que estoy por aquí. Y hablar con el puto cura. Ahora que lo pienso, que hay por este lado. Bueno, voy a matar a estos ya que los he visto. ¿Dónde está el callejón? Se atacarán. A ver. Algún par de lamas. Y este tío. Vale. Vale. Tu cura de mierda.
Good evening, Mr. Whittaker.
It's Father Whittaker, my son. So, are you still lost in your rational delusions?
Tobias Whittaker, confess why you burnt those people alive.
I have done what no one was ready to do. I will smite the
Joder con el cura.
to protect the righteous.
You're not the savior of London. You're just a glorified sadist.
I take no pleasure in this awful cleansing, Dr. Reed. I am only driven by the thousands of innocents I save each night.
You are just another heartless murderer, exploiting the epidemic to kill with impunity.
No! No. The only way to contain the spread is to strike at the source itself. The proliferation floating sick.
Why did you send Samuel to the cemetery, Tobias? What did you see there?
I sent him on a vision. A dream of a dreadful and laughing queen covered with blood, sleeping with the dead and feeding on the fear of the dying.
A laughing queen dressed in blood.
Hostia, qué locura.
Tell me more.
This epidemic is her feast, the announcement of her return. Against her, science is no more than a child's toy.
But who is she?
She is the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. She is Babylon, drunk on the blood of the saints.
Why did you send Samuel to the cemetery, Tobias? What did you see there?
I sent him on a vision. A dream of a dreadful and laughing queen covered with blood, sleeping with the dead and feeding on the fear of the dying.
You sent a man to die because of a stupid vision. I have heard enough of your nonsense. Goodbye. Good evening, Mr. Whittaker.
It's Father Whittaker, my son.
Joder.
So, are you still lost in your rational delusions?
He
I have
encontrado.
found Samuel, your disciple. I am afraid I have bad news.
I already expected the worst. He should already have come back.
Sí.
He is dead, isn't he?
Yes, he is now. The epidemic took him.
Samuel steadily made donations to our cause. He would have rewarded you himself if you'd found me in that awful cemetery. Please accept his money.
Your disciple, Samuel, stole from the dead in Stonebridge Cemetery. I have proof of his crime and proof of his death.
No! Samuel was the best of us. So devoted, so zealous. He gave all he had for the cause. He tirelessly preached the good word.
He defiled the dead with his petty thefts. That's how he financed your misguided crusade.
Think what you will. When this city is saved, he will be praised for his devoted fortitude.
Era un hijo de la grandísima.
Boldly into the mouth of abomination.
Your precious Samuel used you. He was an immoral crook.
If that's true, then he will be my burden.
Entonces está muerto ya, ¿qué más da? Adiós. Espera, espera.
I have heard enough for tonight.
Pista perdida. Pues bueno.
Goodbye.
Vamos a ir al puto hospital. Joder, estoy yendo mal del todo. ¿Qué es ese? Es por aquí, ¿no? Que no.
The wet boots will be proud of me.
Veamos. Vale, al menos una de estas. Otra. Distrito sano. Ay, 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 ay.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Tell me, Delma, what do you really know about vampires?
I saw one and he saw me. I watched him hunt and kill. I saw his terrible wounds heal as his victim died. And then I knew I was saved.
You mean you actually saw a vampire? Here in London?
Yes, and it has been the answer to my pain. I must drink and kill to regenerate my decaying body. I am a vampire too.
You have no idea what problems your claim could cause if heard by the wrong people, Miss Howcroft. You must stop this nonsense now.
Why fear the truth? Strange things live in the dark, Dr. Reed. Strange and ancient beings that were here before this island even had a name.
Bueno. Telma, ya la tengo al 100%.
I have made inquiries about the men who were tracking you, Miss Howcroft.
I did not expect a mortal to have this sort of courage. Speak, Doctor. Why are they hunting me down?
There is no hunt, and nobody is searching for you. You're no threat to this hospital, and you have my word you are perfectly safe here.
Your lies demean you, Doctor. Do you really expect me to lower my guard? I know exactly who I am, and what I am dealing with.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities. Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Vale.
Supposed to be in hospital. A pigsty would smell better.
I cannot enter.
No me jodas. Joder.